Hi, I'm Andy Cather from Red Hat. Thank you for joining me today to learn how AWS and Red Hat are working together to help you build, deploy, and manage cloud-ready applications faster using Red Hat OpenShift Service on AWS. We'll start off with a brief introduction to the OpenShift Container Platform. Then we'll talk a little about Red Hat's managed services strategy. Next, we'll introduce Red Hat OpenShift Service on AWS, or Rosa, covering what's available today and what to expect on our roadmap in the coming releases. And finally, we will wrap up by covering how you can get started using this new service. So what is Red Hat OpenShift? Well, I would really describe it as the trusted enterprise Kubernetes platform. But what does that mean? So Kubernetes done right is hard. While it's ubiquitous, you can get Kubernetes everywhere. It's not hard to download and install Kubernetes or configure a cloud Kubernetes service. But getting it ready for production to run business-critical applications takes a lot more effort. There are a number of components that need to be pieced together, tested, and hardened for operations. For example, take identity management. With Kubernetes, you'll be providing access to critical internal systems to employees, partners, and customers. You'll need to adhere to security rules established by your company. The way you have to integrate that with the Kubernetes platform and your LDAP service. So that's going to require knowledge of something like DEX, the open source identity system, to know about Kubernetes and the intricacies of your LDAP platform. Then you probably need to hook up Prometheus, the open source monitoring stack, or maybe another native monitoring stack that you use in your platform. So everything that you have to put together to build this platform on top of Kubernetes. So at Red Hat, we use a 100% open source development model to deliver enterprise products. No forking, no proprietary extensions, no secret sources only available to our customers. In fact, the only secret source we have is our ability to take hundreds of open source projects and turn them into production-ready, stable, and secure enterprise platforms that we can support over many years. When the community declares a release ready, we typically find tens or hundreds of defects that we fix in the corresponding upstream and downstream releases. And we can do that as we've been contributing to Kubernetes and to, of course, Linux, the foundation of all these technologies since day one. Red Hat is the largest enterprise developer of Kubernetes besides the project's founder. And while Kube provides a great container orchestration engine, that's just one, albeit important, part of the platform you'll need to develop, build, deploy, and manage your applications. The good news is that there are hundreds of commercial and open source offerings to help fill in that gap from orchestration engine to an application platform. In this slide, we're seeing an illustration of the CNCF cloud-native landscape. You've got many choices here for your monitoring options, your service mesh, your logging stack, filtering, etc. All these components have their own lifecycle, their own requirements, get them installed, a compatibility matrix, which version of Kube they work with, which version of the backup or monitoring system. So to build your platform, you need to integrate a number of these services. And when you're ready to upgrade, you need to ensure compatibility or find an equivalent component if you're using a cloud-specific technology. So you may have one logging stack on AWS and another one running on VMware or bare metal in your data center. So with OpenShift, Red Hat tests, validates, and supports these components to ensure you have a fully integrated platform. No assembly required. It's completely integrated and supported out of the box. Now, that's not to say that you can't use your own services. For example, you may decide not to use our EFK stack, but instead leverage CloudWatch and AWS, or maybe you're a Splunk shop and you want to use an enterprise Splunk service. So the kind of phrase, batteries are included but swappable. You have choices in your deployment options. So this foundation of a trusted enterprise Kubernetes platform, we add other key services to deliver the application development platform with all the components you need to build, deploy, and manage your applications at scale. Kubernetes updates, security patches, component updates can all be deployed with a single click, with the confidence knowing that all these components have been thoroughly vetted and tested to work together in an integrated fashion. If you have a support issue, there's one vendor to call who knows the whole stack. One of the beauties of OpenShift is you've got a consistent experience, right? No matter what cloud you're deploying on, your local infrastructure, whether that's going to be on VMware, on-prem, bare metal, OpenStack, Rev, you get the same consistent tooling no matter where you're deploying. Right, so whether that's your CI/CD pipelines, your monitoring stack, your logging, your web console, one consistent experience, allowing developers and operators to use the same tools no matter where they deploy. So that means whether you're deploying on OpenShift bare metal, VMware, Rev, or you're deploying in AWS, it's the same Kubernetes release. It's the same OS on the worker nodes, the same monitoring stack, the same service mesh, all the same tooling with the same consistent lifecycle. You're not switching between versions and minor releases, whether you're going on-prem or in the cloud. So if you're running OpenShift on-premise today, and you're planning on moving workloads to AWS to save money and improve your operational efficiency, you don't need to change your applications or your processes or your tooling. You get all the benefits of running AWS with the same familiar OpenShift stack that you use today. So OpenShift is not just about the runtime platform. We've got a great platform to deploy and manage your applications, but we also deliver tools to enable developers to innovate and build next-generation applications in new ways. No matter what architecture you choose for your applications, what programming language you choose, whatever developers find the most useful, you'll find those services, those building blocks within OpenShift. We provide a consistent development model across the build, test, deploy, monitor, and review lifecycle of the application. We're delivering out-of-the-box support for CI/CD pipelines, so development teams can automate every step of the application delivery process and make sure it's executed on every change that's made to the code or the configuration of the application, no matter what platform they deploy on, whether that's on-prem or in AWS, the same development experience along with the same operational experience. So out of the box, OpenShift supports a broad range of application types and frameworks. For example, we have a service mesh and serverless technologies. These are exciting technologies that make it easier to build and run microservice architectures. With service mesh, we provide networking capabilities at the application layer, so that application components can discover services and communicate with one another. OpenShift also supports monitoring and tracing of inter-application network traffic using Kiali, Jaeger, and the Istio framework underneath. So OpenShift provides two views in the console, one for operators to administer the system, and seen here is a developer view to deliver a self-service interface focused on the needs of an application developer or an application owner. So managed services. So Red Hat, we're known for upstream development, we're known for enterprise offerings such as Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL, and OpenShift, but not so much for managed services. Right? Although we've been delivering managed services since late 2015, in fact, we're one of only two vendors to deliver a managed Kubernetes since 2015. So why do we care about managed services? Why move from just an upstream developer and a software, enterprise software vendor to a managed services company? There's really two reasons for this. The first is to allow us to deliver better software, to the customers and the community. My colleagues in marketing will tell me not to talk about dog fooding, to talk about drinking our own champagne. Right? But to be honest, depending on the day, it kind of could be either, right? And that's the whole point, right? We're customer zero. We're operating the OpenShift software as a service just as you would, right? From the first code commit, right? So we truly are walking a mile in your shoes. If we cannot operate OpenShift at scale, securely and reliably, how do we expect you to? So by being that first customer, we give that critical feedback into the development process. So our SREs work closely with engineering and support as one big team together. Right, so that feedback improves the product. And what's important to note is that improves like OpenShift itself. So if it's OCP that you're deploying yourself and self-managing, the same feedback, the same improvement process improves OCP. And of course, everything we do is driven back upstream into the Kubernetes community and associated communities. So the idea here is that by deploying this at scale and early, we have this virtuous cycle that benefits the community and you, our customers. Now, the second reason is to allow our customers to deliver better software to their end users. The idea is that you can spend more time working on innovation, right? Working on development, and less time working on operations. You want to improve your products, your processes, how you develop applications. You don't want to get up at 11 o'clock on Thursday night with alerts being fired on a node, or 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning to run and test and upgrade. Let Red Hat perform the operations 24/7 for you, so you can do development 9/5, or more likely midday to 10 p.m. You know how developers are. But the goal here is to move the operations burden to Red Hat, so you concentrate on your business innovation and delivering your applications faster to your customers. So we consider this an investment in your success to make sure that you're a happy customer deploying OpenShift at scale. So OpenShift Dedicated is our first managed service. We've been running this one for several years now. So think of this as the OCP that you know today, but fully managed by Red Hat. So installation is handled by our systems. It's maintained by Red Hat. You can decide to deploy that in a Red Hat account that we bill you for, or bring your own AWS account. You pick the region you deploy in, the number of nodes, the size of the nodes, availability zones, the version you want to run. This can be integrated back with your authentication platform, maybe your LDAP or OIDC backend system. We provide our own logging and metric stack, or you again can bring your own. You can swap from batteries. And we add the OpenShift Cluster Manager service, which gives you a graphical user interface to monitor your cluster, to do provisioning, to do configuration. So things like upgrades, patching, remediation, that's handled by Red Hat. And it's not just a control plane, that's going to be the workloads. So if something goes bump in the night at 2 a.m., Red Hat has put the monitoring in place, has taken the alert, and is working on the mitigation. So when you wake up in the morning, your platform is still running, and your cluster service log may note some operational changes that were made during that time. You can have VPC peering, VPN, transit gateway, all the traditional kind of network constructs that you're used to working with AWS. In addition to our 24/7 SRE team, we have premium support on top of the service for those other questions. How do I do this with OpenShift, or more product-related questions rather than operations? So OpenShift Dedicated is sold as a typical enterprise offering. You'll work with your account team, you'll work with our partners, and you go through the procurement cycle. Purchase orders, quotes, invoices, how many clusters, what size, annual subscription. So that's great, but as we're more cloud native today, you're looking for more consumption-based models and more integrated, more native. Which is why I'm proud to introduce you to Red Hat OpenShift Service on AWS, or Rosa for short. So this is taking our managed services to the next level. So it's a fully managed OpenShift service running on AWS. It's jointly managed and supported by Red Hat and AWS. Now, we've been working together as two companies for many, many years, since the early days of AWS. So we've already been close partners, but this is now a product that we're operating and selling together. So we're seeing even deeper integration with the teams. So the goal with this service, as with all our managed services, is really to reduce the operational complexity. Right? You've got a fully managed service with a 99.95% enterprise SLA, supported, patched, operated by us, so you worry about development, not about operations. Again, you focus your effort on innovation, not on plumbing. And with this joint service, we're enabling flexible consumption models. So rather than calling the account team, your partner procuring a new cluster for another year, you just pay for what you use. You spend your resources on them. So this will be a fully integrated console service. So you'll be able to navigate to the AWS console, and in the container section next to EKS, Fargate, and ECS, you'll find the Red Hat OpenShift Service. Or, like me, you may want to deploy in the command line, and we have a command line tool we'll show you in a few minutes. So providing an integrated experience for cluster management and creation, and it's all built on top of RHEL Core OS, using our secure and scalable platforms that have been proven over many years. With this offering, we can truly develop hybrid deployment for you, where you have this consistency between your on-prem and your AWS deployments. So you're going to get a single bill, right? Of course, you continue to talk to Red Hat and work with us, but you're procuring this service as another native service through AWS. So whatever you're consuming, a new cluster, add more nodes, scale up, scale down, what you use on an hourly basis or with annual or multi-year commits will appear as a line item on your AWS. So whatever constructs you have in place for discounting and discount programs, etc., those are all going to be covered by this service. So joint support, you can call the AWS support number, you can call Red Hat, you're going to get to the same folks on the back end, so tightly integrated support processes, building on top of our joint experience with decades of IT cloud support. So you truly go into the source in terms of the code that's running on that platform. And one of the great things about having a new service and this integrated service is helping drive even deeper integration with AWS. AWS has always been the top-tier cloud partner for Red Hat, but now with this service, it's driving even tighter integration of over 170 services that are available on AWS. And over the course of the next few months, you're going to see deeper integration out of the box with OpenShift on AWS, which again will be available to OCP customers as well as to our Rosa customers. So what does the experience look like? So preview program today, and we'll give you a link in a few minutes about how you can get started, get into the preview program. There'll be a console page that you go to, details of the service, everything you're used to from a typical service, pricing, etc. Now during the preview program, and for the first few months of the GA, we will not be provisioning from the console, we're provisioning from the command line. So we have a new command line tool, Rosa, and you can really compare Rosa to EKS CTL or EKS Cuttle, depending on your point of view. So with this tool, you can log into the services, you can create clusters, manage your clusters, look at logs, provision IDPs, etc. So everything can be operated from that console. If you want to see a deeper dive into that service, so the session CON 211, Red Hat OpenShift Service, and the more technical track for reInvent goes into a deep dive with our lead architect. We're going to go through a demo, going through the cluster creation and management process. So again, creation, management from CLI, and of course an API. We also have a UI, which is OpenShift Cluster Manager. So OCM gives you a management plane on top of your clusters. It doesn't replace the OpenShift console, especially there for provisioning. So if I want to provision a cluster, do configuration of a cluster, you can look at support tickets, add support cases, configure IDPs. I can do those in a graphical way, not just on the command line. A good example here is upgrades. So upgrades can just be a single click. You can say, I want to upgrade now, go. Or maybe you want to go into OCM and you want to configure an upgrade to run. You could say, I want to do an upgrade at 2 o'clock on Saturday morning. I want to upgrade to 4.6. So you define that schedule for the upgrades. You define what releases you want to go to. Now, if you want to go on an upgrade path, an automatic path where we upgrade you on a regular cadence to the latest, we can absolutely do that. Or if you want that more fine-grained control where you pick what releases and at what time, it gives you time to test and validate. So you don't have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. We'll do that for you. We'll do the upgrade at that time. It will be automated. Any issues with the stack will be remediated by Red Hat's SRE team. So going forward, what's in the future? So at GA, as I mentioned, we'll have OCM, we'll have our Rosa CLI, and we're working together on creation in the AWS console, similar to what you see with EKS. So the goal in 21 is to allow us to create and manage clusters from the AWS console as well as from the OCM console and the CLI. We're working on more and deeper IAM integration, so the ability to log in through IAM rather than just use another IDP. And also deeper integration into more services. So we already work with the core services, whether that's EFS, EBS, etc. Look how we can have a better out-of-the-box experience. For example, CloudWatch configured out of the box rather than our own EFK stack. So we'll dig into more as we go into the more technical sessions. But what you can expect to see is a deeper and tighter integration with AWS and OpenShift. So how to get started? So if you go to aws.amazon.com/Rosa, you'll see an informational page, product page, walk you through the offering, walk you through the pricing, structured, and there's a link to register for the preview program, where we give customers early access with paid infrastructure, but with a free Rosa service to test drive the product, see how it works for you, get used to OpenShift and our management platform. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time and encourage you to visit OpenShift.com or aws.amazon.com/Rosa and to join my technical colleagues at the Con 211 Red Hat OpenShift Service on AWS technical track. Thank you for your time.